In my previous tutorial, I taught on how to create this beautiful rhinestone stride, and today I am going to be teaching us how to cut the inner sole. I know most times when you cut your inner sole for your footwear, you find out that it's either too big or too small or imperfect for your outer sole. I'm going to be showing you the little tricks you should make sure you always go through to be able to cut a perfect inner sole. All I need you to do today for me is to sit back, and I am going to be right back. Okay, the first outer sole that we're going to be looking at is this round or ready-made sole. I know that most times when you cut, you find out that the inner sole is either smaller or wider. So I just want to quickly show you how you can actually cut this and find it's perfectly fitting, your outer sole. Now, if you're a beginner, I will always say that you should not use a cutout sole like you are buying a Nora sheet, which is, also rubber sheet. I will not advise you to start with that, because if you're not careful, the shape will not be perfectly okay. So if you can lay your hands on already made soles such as this, I think that will be perfect, because you might not be able to cut on that perfect line. So let me start by showing you how to trim it when you want to trim, because it's the trimming aspect that is always reducing the size. So when you want to place your pen, you want to place it like at angle 90 degree, perpendicular to the surface you are actually trying to draw on. So let's assume this particular plain sheet is your EVA foam, which is popularly called Marco. So let's assume that is what it is. So I will show you clearly how to cut. So you can see that I'm don't bend like this to trim, to trace. Let it be upright. You need that extra beside it. You need that extra beside it. You need that extra. So allow me to just reinforce it all around. And this is what we have. So from what we have here, that's what you're going to trim from. This is the second leg. For you to maximize your material, place it this way. Let it be close to it, just to maximize your material. Because if you place it like this, can you see this? This is a lot that you're wasting in between here. And don't forget, this is what we have as our left. When you place it like this, it looks more like your right leg. So you want to check what side this is. You want to place your hand this way. And I'm sure you can see this is my right hand. And of course, this part is my left hand. If you place it like this, can you see that it's not right? No, it's not. So don't forget that each time you place like this, you are going to be having a contrary, side of the foot. I have seen people cut this way. You place this way, after cutting this way, you're now thinking, when I cut it, it looks like this particular leg. So you still place this one again and cut. That's why most times we have, mistakes in our cutting process. So you really need to be very careful, with that. So now I want to trim for us to see. Now when you want to trim outside the red line. That is the only way. When you finish cutting, insole, outer soles that has this plain surfaces like this, that is the only way it will perfectly fit. Now let's go into it. I am going to cut perfectly outside that line, outside my pen. Now you are not traveling anywhere, so take your time to trim it all out. You are not traveling anywhere. Now, if you study the process with which I trim this, you will find out that I took my time to do it. Please don't be in a hurry when you are trimming. That's why most times you have a totally different result when you cut out your inner sole. Don't forget, this is what we call the outer sole, and the one that will be placed on this is what we call the inner sole. So let's go right into that. Now, when I place this way, you will definitely be seeing that red outline all around. I'm sure you can see the red outline. You can see the red outline. You can see it. That is exactly the way your inner sole should be on top of your outer sole. That is the way it should be. Many a times when you are trimming so much so that you are saying the white part, this white part of my design, of my footwear, of my paper is still showing if it were you. So I'm going to suggest that anytime you cut like this, you will get a perfect fit. If you find out that it is wider, please, my suggestion is for you to get a sandpaper as a beginner. Get a sandpaper. You can get a little bit, the one that is rough, not as smooth as this one. Get a sandpaper that is a bit rough. Then you use that to actually scrape and reduce all of the edges. That is how to actually reduce it. Don't go to your grinding machine or use your scissors. Don't use your scissors to reduce it if you find that it's too wide. And that's why you have to pay attention when you are actually cutting this way. Now let's assume I want to place it on my EVA foam. This is what we call EVA foam. We call it Mako here in Nigeria, but it's actually an EVA foam. So let me place for us all to see. So I'm placing this way. The same process. Now I need you to know that you don't have to be very hard on yourself. Most times you cut these things and they are not perfectly okay. Don't be hard on yourself. There are so many things you can do with it, and I'm going to explain to you what you can do with it each time you find out that you make such mistakes. In short, some people wrap before they check. Please don't wrap your inner sole. Don't wrap your EVA foam plus your insole cardboard. Don't wrap it like some of us will have done it this way. This is our insole cardboard. Some call it fiber. Here in Nigeria, it's called fiber. So it's an insole cardboard. Now this is our EVA foam. Some just wrap without checking whether it's perfectly fitting the inner sole or not. You really need to work on this. You have to check and be sure. It's not possible for it to perfectly fit, and when you begin to wrap it, it reduces. It's not possible. It doesn't reduce. All right, so pay attention to that part. Now let me place this for you to be able to see. Let me place this. So as I'm placing this right now, you see that I'm still applying the same process. I'm still applying the same process. Make sure that it's not moving. That's very important. Make sure it is not moving. Can you see? I'm sure you can see all of this. Now, if you want to use this to cut a new one, I need you to know that by the time you place this here, it will be what by the time if you use the one I decide to use this one to cut my inner sole, it will be wider again, because now the outline is outside the main shape. When I place it this way, what I'm actually drawing is outside it. You understand? So this one is already outside. It's already wider. By the time I use this to cut again, it will still be wider. It will still be wider, especially if I have not mastered the art of cutting inside the line or outside the line or on the line perfectly well. These are techniques or skill that you're going to develop over time. Don't push yourself to do what you can learn over time and try to achieve it in just one day. You understand? I want you to first of all explore placing your outer sole on a plain sheet such as this and trimming it out perfectly well. That is the first technique that you should master. When you master that, it will be very easy for you to actually draw on your EVA foam and trim perfectly well. Your ability to utilize your scissors will really help in your cutting process. Now, some people will say, can I use a utility knife to cut? If you are sure that by the time you place your utility knife on the line, it's not going to swift away, then you can. But if you're not sure, I bet you your best option is to use your scissors. Now, for this is what I'm also going to do. I am still going to cut outside the line, totally outside. I think I want to zoom this a bit for you to see. So I'm going to cut outside the line. Now, I am going to make sure that you see all of this. If you have not liked this video, please go ahead and like it. Please go ahead and like it. You can see me. I am cutting outside that line, outside. You have to be very careful. And you see that I'm still holding it right there. Some of us are always opening anyhow. No. And you see the way I'm cuffing this part. Can you see the way I'm cuffing it? You have to be careful. Do it gently. Some of these techniques are things you master over time. Can you see that I'm not releasing it each time I get to the end of the scissors? I still leave it there and open it up there. Don't let it leave that spot. That's why the edges are not in perfect shape. You will see that I'm still holding it down there. I'm going to push it forward right there and continue cutting. That is how to cut the edge and then maintain a straight cut. Like I said, start with ordinary paper. Now I'm at the edge now. You see me holding my scissors down there and pushing it forward gradually. I'm still holding it down. You see I open it right there and I'm still following that process. Please, these are things you should do over and over. I didn't get this just in one day. That's why I said make sure you start with just plain sheet. Just sit down and catch fun when you are not under pressure. Catch fun, place it on it, draw the paper out, trim it, and make sure that your hand is so straight that you can see whether it's a blue pen or a red pen that you are using. You can see them faintly all around it. Then you know that you are improving. Now let me place this on top of this for us to see. I bet you it's going to be. Can you see that we are still saying small? That is how it should be. Please, that is how it should be. Can you see we are still saying small about 1 mm. We are saying about 1 millimeter, which is about 0.1 centimeter all around the edges. That is how it should be when you place it. When you finish wrapping it, you'll find out that it will be obvious all around the edges. With that, when you bottom your footwear, it will be perfectly intact. Now, in my previous tutorial, I told us I'm going to be showing us how to do a full, slide of that rhinestone design. If you have not checked how we cut the pattern, please, I need you to go ahead. After watching this, go ahead and check. I will try to put it in the comment section, or I will actually go ahead and try as much as possible to put it on the screen so that you can watch. At the end of this video, I will put it on the screen. Please watch out. At the end, just click that particular design that has a rhinestone on it and check how to cut the pattern. Now, one of the processes involved in that particular rhinestone design is cutting of this part, the insole part, and this is what I am trying to show us today, and at the same time teaching us how to perfectly cut a perfectly fitting inner sole. Now, if your own, let's say yours is not this way. Now, your own is having amazing shape, like something like this. Let's say your own inner sole it looks like this. You can see that it has some, you understand, it's not the same process with the way I just cut this one. It's not the same process. I have seen some people say, okay, you should use marker, you understand, or chalk on the surface and then place it. I can bet it that if you are a beginner, you might still end up cutting the wrong thing. You might still end up, I am very intentional about my words, you might still end up cutting the wrong thing. What is going to be my best option for you? Make sure you get, a plain sheet or a very soft, paper. Maybe a newspaper, because that tends to be very flexible. I'm trying to do this so that this can be flexible enough for what I want to do. So let's assume it looks like this. Let's say the inner sole, the outer sole you are using looks like this. What do you do? Now let me show you what I am going to suggest you do as a beginner. Now for some people this might be time consuming, but I would rather encourage you to waste time than waste your resources. Yes, if you are a beginner. If it's so heartbroken, in short, it's not a funny thing when you use your money to buy material and you find out you have exhausted all the material, yet you have not made a footwear. So for me, it's a no. If you are going to say, okay, I just want to quickly do it, don't be in a hurry. You are not going anywhere. For now, if you have to make the footwear, let it be for yourself, for family and friends, and not yet for any customer that can want to put you under pressure. You understand? This is not just about you making money or making profit from the craft you have learned. It's about you perfecting your craft and making sure that when you begin to attract customer, they will always come back. Because if they see that it's an imperfect job you did, some may not say anything. They just collect the footwear and say thank you, pay you your money, but never come back and never feed you back on what is wrong or their observation. So what am I going to say? This is what you should do for designs like this. You yourself, you will obviously see that as I am doing this, let me zoom this in a bit, okay? As I'm doing this, the shape is coming out. I'm sure you can see this. I know it's possible there are so many other options that you might have tried that is working for you, fine. But if you have tried all other options and it's not working, follow me as I go through this process. So you want to also make sure that this is also here. Make sure you are holding them down. Hold it down. Because if you don't hold it down, if it shifts, it's going to alter the shape as well. So you want to try to just get something to. So I'm going to also go this route again. I'm sure you can see that it looks time consuming, but these are effective ways of actually cutting this kind of inner sole. Quote me anyway. If you are a professional, you might think this is time consuming and a waste of time. If you apply chalk or apply marker, you just place it on the EVA foam or marker, it will perfectly work. Well, I want to bet it is because you are already used to doing that. So you can see what I have. What am I going to do? I am also going to cut outside the line just as usual. So you want to take your time to make sure you cut very close to the line. You already have an outline, so just follow it. That's what I'm going to do. There's an outline there. Follow the outline. There's nothing to be afraid of. This is actually a paper that you are cutting. It's not your leather, and it's not your EVA foam, which is called Mako in Nigeria. That's not what you are cutting. So take your time to cut. Now, sometimes even when you cut and it's smaller or bigger, you can reduce. Don't worry. Let me cut this through, then show us what we can do to it whenever it seems bigger or smaller. So this is what we have. Now, you see it? It's still perfectly fitting it. Now, for this particular one, let me cut the insole for you to see what it's going to look like. Now let's assume that we are actually, this is our EVA foam. Don't forget, all these are EVA foam, please. They are all EVA foam. You don't have to cut a shape that look like a sole before you use, please. You use your sheet like that, because many a times it comes in sheets like this. Like, it comes in sheets, some are wider. It depends on the quantity you are buying. So you just want to place it on it normally like that. I mean the EVA foam, which is called Mako. Okay, so you can see what I have here. So with what I have, I'm just going to place and then create an outline. Now, if I'm using this to create an outline, for example, it looks very, very light. I'm going to be placing it on a thicker cardboard so that it will be easy to actually trim out. That's your best option. So make sure you place it on a thicker cardboard and then draw out the outline before you go ahead with this. So just apply your gum at the back so that at least it will help you to stick it properly. So I'm going to just place it. So then you can just go ahead and trim exactly, of course, the same size.
Hi, you're welcome to today's feedback broadcast. My name is Ojurole Mojibola and I am reporting from Jibbyfem Forte 40 Patterns in 10 Days Challenge. Now, this is what one of our students has to say about the way the class has actually boosted our skill. I have learned new techniques for pattern cutting. Whenever I see a pattern, I can first analyze it before going into the real deal. Now, of course, this class has helped me to identify and understand the construction behind every pattern. Now, there are some that I sent you which you didn't teach me about, but I can beat my chest that I can create them on my own now. Confidence check. I wasn't confident in myself at all, but now I regain my confidence in pattern cutting. Overall, the class has really impacted my understanding and ignite my passion for shoemaking in general. That is Mujibola Odurole reporting.
So this is another thing. Now I'm placing, you can see that it's bulging out, meaning that one way or the other it has actually increased in length. That's what it means if you ask me. If you manage it, try to push it like this, you will find out that it will stay inside it. But I'm going to advise that you follow your line, your initial line, and just trim that part. Just trim the pen off. Can you see now it's perfectly fitting it just by trimming off that small part? It's perfectly fitting it. Can you see that? I'm going to actually cut this out because I want you to be able to know the best way to actually trim this when you have if that is what you have. So let's draw this. here. So I'm sure you can see what we have here. This time around, I'm also going to cut very close to that line or exactly on the outline. You have options. So you can see so let's check if it's wider, if it's smaller, if it's bigger. Now, can you see what we are experiencing here now? These are the things that, of course, are likely going to happen each time you are actually trying to fix a design and what do they call it? An outer sole that has this kind of side. An outer sole that has this kind of side. No. Same thing applies to this kind of male designs too. You can see it's still the same process you have to follow. But by the time you get to this spot where you find out that, wow, this is quite large, and if I put it in, it's not going to size it. You can see, you will find out that it's even those red parts that are still showing, because if I trim all those parts, it will have perfectly fitted. That is not a crime. This is what you should do to it. So what do? Get a little bit rough sandpaper, let it not be too rough, like this, and begin to use it to reduce. I know some of you are like, is this not going to waste time? I would rather encourage you to waste time trying to fix a perfect one than trying to cut 3 different pairs that are imperfect. So I take my time to do this. That's the difference between an handcrafted footwear, or the one that is actually bespoke, and the one that is factory made, industrial production. That's the difference. You want to take your time. So many of them is machine that cuts, and there is perfect accuracy. This is your hand and your pen doing a lot of the work. So take your time. Don't be in a hurry. Some of us can be very much in a hurry, as if we are going somewhere. You have planned to make 100 in a day. So when any of them is wasting your time, you cut another one. At the end of the day, there's no profit, and you now be wondering, and people are saying this business is lucrative. To be lucrative for those who are patient. Can you see that one way or the other is going in? Can you see? Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see? When you wrap it, it's still going to add to the thickness. So you have to it must enter it perfectly well. So this one now, I'm still saying this is also still long. This is perfectly okay, but this is still a bit longer. So I want to also use my sandpaper. Please, you have to do this with care so that you don't deform the shape, because that's another thing. You deform the shape, you spoil the shoe. So any day you create an insole, and you find out that it's smaller than the outer sole, please don't use it. Don't use it, except you don't want people to be patronizing you. Don't use it. Some of us are like, hey, money, I have stressed myself. I beg you, it's better you stress yourself and make sure that your customer gets a good job. Now you can see that this is actually going in. It's also in here. All the sides are in. Can you see that all the sides are in? Sometimes some of us, you carry your scissors and be trying to trim. In your process of trimming, you end up making it smaller than what you plan to actually use it for. So in a situation where you find out that what you created after wrapping is actually different, probably is different, is smaller, you know, that kind of a thing. Maybe when you finish wrapping like this, you place it on the outer sole and you find out that it's maybe bigger. It's not bigger, it's way bigger than the small outer sole, or probably is this type, and when you place it inside, you are seeing, you know, this part like this. Maybe it's like this. After you find out that all this side are opening, maybe small part like this is opening. I say I will manage it. It will show when you finish working. It will show. The best thing you can do for yourself is this one that you have wrapped, place it on another outer sole. I mean, maybe like a Nora sheet or whatever kind of rubber sheet that is around you that you can buy in plain, in pair, that they have not cut out. I mean an outer sole. Place it on it. Carry your welt all of the edges. I know someone will say, I don't know what is welt. Let me show you. So this is what I mean by welt. You can see it actually comes in different color, but for me, I basically love to use the black because at least it blends with majority of you know, the color. So let's say this is the welt I'm using. After you have wrapped it, like I was explaining the other time, let's say you have wrapped and you find out that it's smaller, it's too small for what you want to use it for. Please, instead of you trying to trash it or trying to use it like that, please get a welt. Place it on an outer sole. This is like an outer sole sheet. So place it on it. Then, of course, go through the process. Welt it. Then, by the time you finish welting, you will cut that out and use as your outer sole. Please, that's what you should do. Don't manage it. I have seen a lot of people try to manage all this kind of thing. They will put it's very small, and they will manage it. Please, let's not be managing all these things. If you know that it's too small, please, if it's too wide, take your time. Use your sandpaper, reduce it. If you are sure you can use a grinding machine, fine. Don't use your scissors. For me, scissors is a no. Especially when what you want to really reduce is not much. Please, I am begging us. You see that I'm trying to bend it for you to enter. If you find yourself always bending it to enter, it still means that it's too wide. Personally, I tell you, I can use scissors to cut it. I can use scissors to cut because I'm used to it. If you try it, you will come and thank me later. Can you see it's entering? So I can do that because over time I already understand that, okay, this is, if I do this is how to cut. This is the quantity to cut. But some of us, you carry scissors. You carry coming to this side. You trim. At the end of the day, everything will now be shapeless. Please, let's work on that. So majorly, I believe with this, you should be able to cut your inner sole for this particular, you know, rhinestone design that we are trying to create. Of course, in my next tutorial, I will be wrapping it, and I'll be showing you how I wrap neatly without it having a lot of crease all around it. So thank you for joining me today. If you have not liked this video, make sure you like it. Make sure you subscribe as well. Share with somebody. Let somebody know that there is somebody teaching you how to make sure. Don't be selfish about this. So I'm going to see you in my next video tutorial. See you then. Bye.